Hey everybody! Welcome to CAF Warbird Tube, the show where we talk about World War II, aviation, history, and so much more. Warbird Tube is produced by the Commemorative Air Force, the world's largest flying museum. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and honor through flight and living history experiences. The CAF began the Warbird movement more than 65 years ago, and thanks to the support of individuals like you, we continue to grow strong. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and now our host, Steve Buss. Thanks for watching and keep 'em flying.
Good evening, aviation enthusiasts, and welcome to CAF Warbird Tube. Tonight, episode number 162, we check in on the Commemorative Air Force's C-47 That's All Brother and several members of the crew on the eve of the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion. Now, whether you're joining us tonight for the very first time or you are a loyal Warbird Tube fan, we're thrilled to have you with us. If you enjoy our content, don't forget to spread the word on your favorite social media platforms. Of course, Warbird Tube is made possible by the Commemorative Air Force. Find out more about the CAF, our events, aircraft, local units, or how you can join the fun. Just visit our website, commemorativeairforce.org. As I mentioned, it's the 80th anniversary of the Normandy Invasion, and the events that will be taking place tomorrow, June 6th, 2024, to commemorate what happened on June 6th, 1944. And to help us with that, we have Kurt Lewis, who is one of the pilots of That's All Brother, and we'll also talk to Andy Mag, who is also there over in France, and some special guests coming up in just a little bit. But right now, let's talk with Kurt. Well, joining us now from a rather remote location, Kurt Lewis. Kurt, good to have you with us. Tell us exactly where you are this morning.
I am in a scenic McDonald's parking lot in St. Lo, France, borrowing their free Wi-Fi to make this work as smoothly as possible. So,
well, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. For those watching live, we're actually recording this about 12 hours prior because of the time difference, and because Kurt's going to have to go and fly the airplane in just a little while. But before we do that, just want to back things up a little bit. The Legacy Tour is underway. You made it all the way across the North Atlantic. You've been in England, now in France. It's been kind of a whirlwind. But take us back to the original, I guess, the starting point where you did a little practicing and getting ready for the jump when you were still in the States.
yeah, whirlwind is a good word for it. I've been on the road now it'll be 4 weeks Friday, but it sure doesn't feel like that. I've had to do laundry, I think, 2 times, so I'm doing pretty good staying ahead of that. And that's honestly been one of the biggest challenges so far, is just trying to find laundromats that work with our hours and everything. But everybody kind of that was making the crossing together from the U.S. met in Oxnard, Connecticut, and did some practice formation stuff there to kind of get ready for all the formation flying we're going to be doing over here with paratroopers. And that kind of culminated in our formation trip up and down the Hudson River and right over LaGuardia Airport, where we had a lot of photo support and we got a lot of good media attention out of that to bring good attention to our crossing coming up.
Yeah. And of course, you were also at the Military Aviation Museum in Virginia Beach before that, doing a public appearance. That was great. Yeah. How was that landing on the grass strip there at the museum?
Yeah, it spoiled us. It was the first time I've gotten to fly a DC-3 off of grass. Their runway is almost 5,000 feet long and, 200 or 300 feet wide. We're doing a lot of grass flying here in the UK. We were up at the Shuttleworth connection, when we were in France now, but when we were in the UK, Shuttleworth was grass, but considerably shorter and considerably more narrow than what Virginia Aviation Museum has going on. And I think they just get shorter from here. We're stopping at a grass field in just south of Paris coming up next. And then I believe we're visiting sometime this week. We're going back up to the UK for a paratrooper operation where we're picking paratroopers up from a different grass field there. So it was a good preview to the kind of flying we'll be doing here off of grass for sure.
Awesome. Where was the jumping off point that you began the North Atlantic journey?
Depends on how you look at it. I'm considering Presque Isle, Maine was kind of our big send off. The town really came together and threw us this huge banquet dinner When we landed there, it looked like just about the whole town came out to welcome us, and they were super friendly. But that was really the first part of the famous Blue Spruce route, where that whole town and that airport was developed to support in World War II the ferry of all these bomber and transport airplanes. So that's kind of where we started the crossing traditional historical route. But from there we go up to Goose Bay, Canada, and the leg after Goose Bay, leaving Canada, is where we go feet wet, you could say, where we're over the ocean and out of radar and VHF coverage as we flew to Greenland. So
good. Well, and the C-47, that's all, brother, not on the trip, not packed with troops, but with all sorts of supplies. The picture here that we're looking at is, all the things that are strapped in, and there's plenty of oil that you took with you.
Yeah, we took a lot of oil. We took enough to support our crossing, but then we even had another 2 barrels shipped up to the UK on arrival. So we're planning to do an oil change before we come back westbound, because we'll have about 50 some hours on the engine since we did our oil change before leaving Texas. So there's enough to support all that flying, and then do an oil change, and then we've been able to help out some of the other airplanes with their oil needs as well that didn't have 110 gallons shipped over to the UK.
What were there any other spares that were shipped in advance of the tour?
Not that I know of. We took kind of our essentials, spare brake parts, a cylinder, generator, starter, that kind of stuff. All the other airplanes kind of brought their set of spares along, and fortunately, that's all brother made it across the ocean without having to dig into our spares at all. But 1 or 2 of the airplanes coming across did, and it was nice to see the immediate offering to help each other out. You don't have that fuel pump. Well, I have one that you can use if you need it. That kind of thing. We're all. It's not a competition. We're all in it together and hoping to see everybody get to Europe and back as smoothly as possible.
Great. Well, your first landing would be after Overwater would be in Greenland. I try to pronounce the name of the airport, but there's no way I can.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Narsarsuaq. I've gotten to say it a couple dozen times since first looking into this, but Narsarsuaq sounds right. And it was just perfect. As you can see in the picture there, we had beautiful sunny skies, and the last 50 miles were just 1,000 feet over the water, kind of following the famous fjord that we've all read about in books like Fate is the Hunter. And fortunately, with our GPS technology, there was no question as to whether we were in the right of the 3 fjords or not. We knew the airport was going to be just around that bend, so there were no surprises. But it was certainly some of the prettiest scenery I've ever seen from an airplane.
Indeed. Do you recall, when I'm looking at the picture of the approach to the airport, is this one that was on Microsoft Flight Simulator? I seem to remember trying to fly into a strip like this on Flight Sim years ago.
Yeah, it's no secret. I grew up a huge Microsoft Flight Sim nerd, so I've certainly flown there, a lot in the last 20 years of being a flight simulator enthusiast. But I'm not sure. It might be one of the kind of scenarios that Microsoft Flight Simulator sets up that you can attempt. But certainly, that airport's existed in the last several versions of Flight Simulator. So any flight sim enthusiasts out there should definitely go give it a look and try it for themselves.
What did it feel like after you made that first feet wet leg to be back on dry ground?
After the first leg, it was cold for starters, of course, and it was only going to get colder from there. The coldest leg was between Greenland and Iceland, but we had good faith in the airplane after that, and there's not a whole lot of weather forecasting or reporting available, so we were using apps like Windy has been my favorite, but there's a few different ones like that take different, actually looking at SKU-T charts and weather soundings, trying to predict freezing levels and where there might be clouds, and more importantly, where there might be ice. And seeing that our guesses and forecasts that we were coming up with our own kind of forecasting of the weather, but we had the support of the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's meteorology department, would kind of give us on-demand briefings. So we're saying, hey, we're flying from Greenland to Iceland today, and they would do a bunch of research and provide us with all the charts and kind of their home-brewed forecasts of what they thought we were going to encounter. And for the most part, it aligned pretty pretty well with kind of what us pilots were coming up with on our own using kind of the same data. But it was good to see that our forecasting kind of correlated with what the professionals were coming up with, and good to see that it was pretty accurate for the most part as we were flying.
Yeah. As you mentioned, your next stop was Iceland. This picture of that's all brother just about to touch down there. Now, Kurt, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that what you can't tell from that picture is that it was about 9 o'clock at night when we landed. So it didn't feel that late, but that was after we flew from Goose Bay to Greenland to Iceland in one day. So that was 2 5-hour legs and about a 15 or 16-hour duty day by the time it was all done. And as light as it was, it didn't feel like 9 p.m. when we landed. And as we were trying to go to bed at midnight and it was still about that bright out, it still didn't. So. But it's what makes trips like this possible is the long daylight, or not possible, but a lot easier and safer being able to operate during the day on these longer days up north than trying to do it in the dark.
Now, you are a professional pilot, and you've flown internationally, but if you've flown over water, you've not been this low before. So I can imagine that in an airliner, when you're just at cruising altitude and sitting back and having a cup of coffee and letting the autopilot do the work for you, this trip was a little more hands-on than that would have been, and a lot lower.
Yeah, a lot lower, a lot colder. In the airline, we're generally above 95% of any weather that's going to be a problem. We're not really worried about ice as much when we're crossing the water. What we are really paying attention to in my day job is just avoiding turbulence, if anything. So that's our main concern as we're crossing the pond, and we're always keeping track of where our nearest airport is, but all of our equal time points and go no-go points are all very, very accurate and very precise and very calculated ahead of us. Where we're and that's all, brother. We're trying to do a lot of that work ourselves, always keeping track of based on winds. Okay, if we were to lose an engine now and have to cruise down on one engine at 3,000 or 4,000 feet, what would be the turnaround point where we would be quicker to continue versus turn around? So we're always kind of trying to come up with those scenarios and time points based on our different scenarios that could cause us to want to get on the ground as soon as we can when we got 300 or 400 miles of water between us and the nearest land. So
right now, as you mentioned, 5-hour legs on the flight. How did you split up piloting duties?
Yeah, we had a total of 4 pilots for the crossing. So we had 2 PICs and 2 SICs. And we generally did where we paired up. So I was flying with the same SIC on each leg, and then the other, PIC and SIC would fly together most of the time. And the plan was that on these longer flights, we would kind of give each other like an hour break and cruise. Mm-hmm. But it turns out the warmest part of the airplane is in the cockpit where all the heat goes. So none of us were really willing to get out of the seat to let that happen. So what we ended up doing is just when it wasn't our turn to fly, is we were trying our best to stay warm and maybe catch an hour or two of sleep in the back, so we were fresh for the next leg. But and then we would be on the headset with each other and always be kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. And when it wasn't my leg in the back, I was playing on the sat phone, making phone calls and getting weather updates for people and making position reports, for the crew that was flying and stuff like that. So we were able to stay busy and ended up, when we weren't trying to sleep, all of us were just huddled in the cockpit, where between the cabin and the front of the airplane, you can fit about all six of us that were on the crossing, and the radio seat, navigator seat, and there's a little jump seat up there. So we were all more or less just kind of crammed in the cockpit area to stay as warm as we could.
So after crossing, you finally land in the UK and get to offload a few things and not worry about flying over the water for at least a few weeks.
Yep, a few weeks. You can see, that picture there was us in Prestwick under traditionally rainy Scottish skies. We got real good at figuring out where all the rain leaks into the cockpit on that leg, but it was a nice shower. It was a steady rain, so not convective thunderstorm kind of rain. So it was still glass smooth, and it was finally warm enough that we could fly in the clouds comfortably without worrying about ice or anything like that. But it was just trying to keep ourselves dry, and the cockpit was the main challenges with all the water leaking into that. So, but once we left Prestwick for southern England in Northfield, We were pretty much out of the rain, I think, about halfway down. It's been pretty good weather since then.
All right. So the first leg of this tour is the Atlantic crossing. I guess we'll kind of break it up into chunks. The next chunk is flying in England itself, doing a lot of formation work, like I said, training with paratroopers, that sort of thing. The next leg will be the actual Normandy celebration, which is going to happen tomorrow. And then beyond that, you're off to the Berlin airlift as well. And you'll be at the air show there before the return trip to the States later in June.
Yeah, correct. As you said, we're in France right now. I believe Sunday or Monday coming up, we stop at a little field south of Paris for about a week. We're on static display there doing an air show. And then we'll move over to Wiesbaden, just west of Frankfurt, for a huge 75th anniversary of the Berlin Airlift Celebration and air show that they're putting on at the military field there, where there'll be more formation flying. And I think I heard rumors, I don't know the details yet, but supposedly we're going to do a formation candy drop as part of the air show to honor the stories of all the candy bombers back, the pilots that would drop their candy rations to the kids in Berlin as they were on approach to deliver the supplies and stuff like that. So that'll be an experience. And then from there we head back to the UK to kind of pick all of our stuff, emergency equipment back up for the crossing. We'll do a little bit of maintenance. Like I mentioned, we have an oil change that we're going to do on That's All Brother before flying it over. And then once we're ready and have a good weather window, it should take us probably 4 or 5 days to get back to Texas from there.
Yeah. Well, this is your approach to the Duxford Museum and a world famous museum. Had you been at this facility before this, or is this your initial arrival?
That looks like that's the Shuttleworth collection there.
Shuttleworth, sorry.
Just west of Duxford, but I hadn't been to either one, so no, that was my first time at Shuttleworth and learning the story of Richard Shuttleworth and the whole collection there, and kind of how and why it's preserved. And they have a beautiful facility and an incredibly unique collection of airplanes. And we were lucky enough to stay at the Shuttleworth House, which is a mansion that they have on site that the family has maintained. That they still run out for weddings and stuff, but they were able to open it up for the crews. And same thing going to Duxford. I've heard about Duxford my whole life and seen all the pictures, but getting to fly in and land there as part of my first visit was certainly a cool and unique way to make that happen.
And of course, the airplane's always a favorite at shows like that.
Oh yeah, yep.
Now, of course, there's a lot of flying that's going on. You mentioned that in some of the downtime, looking for laundromats and things like that. But you also visited a very, very famous pub in England as well on one of your off days.
Yeah, so it's as you can see there, that sign and all the signatures on the wall, and behind it, it was a popular hangout for RAF pilots during World War II, and I guess military and pilots since then, because the place is just covered in signatures from not only World War II era pilots, but visiting crews from all over the years, and hundreds of stickers and patches everywhere. We were actually lucky enough to go there 2 times because we were staying up there in Cambridge, so just a short 9-pound Uber away from the pub there. And it was a popular hangout. We'd always run into at least one of the other DC-3 crews anytime we were there. And I was able to put a That's All Brother patch right above the bar. So if anybody ever goes there, look for the That's All Brother patch in the bar, right above the bar in the back room. Yeah, there you go. There it is.
So have there been any other places that you've been able to see? I mean, aside from obviously the museums and the airfields and things like that, but just maybe some general touristy things that you've been able to do?
Well, I grew up a Pink Floyd nerd, and they're all from Cambridge, so I went around and saw some of the sites that are kind of made famous in some of the Pink Floyd songs, and where they all were going to school. So I enjoyed that. A lot of people I know went down to London and spent time there and saw some of those sites. And same thing for Paris. I think I'm going to be able to visit Paris for a day or 2 coming up myself and see some of that. So. Yeah, we've been able to work in some downtime, sometimes because of weather, and sometimes because we have enough crew to kind of to share the workload. So to make a little bit of a vacation out of it, so it's not all work per se. So
there you go. But this shot just was amazing, and I have to admit, I rated your Facebook feed because, like you said earlier, I've been living vicariously through your Facebook and all your the pictures that you've been posting. But can you explain this picture? And it looks like you're cutting the grass.
it does look like we're cutting the grass. We weren't cutting the grass, but that was the initial place they decided we should park in Shuttleworth was this kind of field that was freshly mowed. Mm-hmm. And we parked there, and it was okay, but it was a little soft, and so we were worried about if the airplane sat for 2 or 3 days, if we'd be able to get them out at all. And because it is freshly mowed, we decided that they found an alternate spot for us to park on kind of more firm grass, I guess. So all 4 of us started up and got to make a pretty big mess as we blew all the fresh cut grass around. And fortunately, we were just starting up to taxi and not go flying, because we did have to scoop quite a bit of cut grass out of the oil coolers and everything, and make sure they were clear again after. And then when we started up the second time, when we actually did start up to leave, we made sure that we had a guy that was going to go inspect each of our oil coolers before we taxied out for takeoff to make sure we didn't suck any more of that freshly cut grass in. So. And it's definitely a good idea that we moved, as you can see, because it took quite a bit of power to get it out of the hole that we made just in the couple minutes we were parked there.
You mentioned the other airplanes that are with you. How many made the crossing, and how many are like currently in the tour?
Yeah, I believe we had 4 C-47s end up crossing. One airplane I know is stuck in Greenland awaiting some parts still. I'm not sure their status. Also, recently we had an A-26 from Texas, much faster than a C-47, make the crossing in just a couple days and joined us here. And then currently here in France, we have 2 more European C-47s that have joined in. And I think there's still supposed to be 1 or 2 more showing up by the time the 6th happens to make the mass flyover of the cemetery for the main event per se.
Right. This is the American cemetery in England. I forget the town that it's in.
Yeah, that looks like in Cambridge. Yeah, Cambridge has an American cemetery with, I believe it was 2,800, 3,000. Some Americans are resting there from a lot of crews like the 8th Air Force, and they also have the remains there of a lot of people that were lost at sea on their way across the Atlantic too, as part of the Navy. So that was an interesting aspect of that cemetery that the American Cemetery and Memorial here in Normandy didn't have, was the naval connection.
Indeed, and again, even though there's a lot of I guess pomp and circumstance that's going with everything that's surrounding the 80th anniversary, it really is the people who are in that cemetery and the other cemeteries there who gave the ultimate sacrifice on D-Day and beyond that we're helping to remember with all the activities that are happening throughout May and June.
Absolutely, yep.
And you get to see some pretty countryside as well.
Yeah, I think, let me see. Better get that. Yeah, that looks like, I can't tell if that's in England or France, but the countrysides are both definitely very beautiful, especially when the sun's out. They do get a lot of rain around here, so when the sun does come out, the green pops extra bright, and it looks a little bit different than the kind of grid setup that's more common in the U.S. countryside.
So today being the 5th of June, what activities do you have coming up today?
Yesterday we did a practice flight for the flight that is going to be on the 6th tomorrow, kind of practicing with our air boss there at the American Cemetery for our hold and our push time to make sure we hit our target time appropriately. And then today, some of the other crews, they're flying up to, I believe they're doing a cross-channel jump. So I think they flew back to England again to pick up more paratroopers to deliver to a drop zone here in Normandy somewhere.
So will there be an actual drop tomorrow on June 6th?
I think in the evening there will be. The main event is going to be part of the big ceremony at the cemetery that we're doing a flyover for. But after that, it stays light until 9 p.m. and we have, I think, I heard someone say there's about 1,300 jumpers that are trying to get,
Wow.
at least one jump, the whole week. So any free time we have, they tend to load us up with paratroop activities. So
When you're doing a jump run, what's the normal number of paratroopers that are on board at That's All Brother?
That's All Brother, mostly for insurance reasons, can only take 16. Some of the other non-CAF airplanes, I think, go up to like 26. In wartime, I believe they had 28 people. The 16 is a lot. Like, even when there's only 16 people on That's All Brother, it looks pretty crowded. I can't imagine trying to stuff another dozen in there. So.
Yeah. And I suppose when they all jump out, you've really got to be on your toes to retrim the airplane as your center of gravity and overall weight goes out the back end.
Right. Yep, you certainly feel it getting lighter and the CG shifting aft. They're all trained and briefed really well to not all rush the door at once, so it's a pretty solid stream and procession of them going out. And we also tend to do two what they call sticks at a time. So like all the paratroopers on the right side will go, then we'll come around for another pass, and all the paratroopers on the left side will go out. So that helps. And it's not as noticeable as you might think if everybody does what they're supposed to do. If they just keep walking, if they kind of march straight out the door, it keeps the center of gravity pretty uniform. You do feel this kind of cool rush of wind, or this kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, this kind of thump as they exit the door, and the bags that hold their parachutes kind of, start battering the side of the airplane. So the more of those the bags that carry the parachutes go out the door, the draggier the airplane gets. And then a crew member, usually the jump master inside the airplane, pulls those parachute bags back in the door, then all of a sudden it's clean and there's no drag and the airplane flies well again. So you can really feel when each one exits, and then when each of their parachute bags is pulled in, is very noticeable at the controls.
Yeah. A number of years ago, before That's All Brother was fully restored, I had the opportunity to actually stand in the door, right where the paratroopers exited, and just in that moment, just standing there, we're just alone at the airfield. It was at Oshkosh over at Basler's, very quiet, but I could feel this sense of history just standing in the door. I cannot imagine what you and your fellow crewmates must be feeling flying the airplane and having those paratroopers go out the back and just realizing what had happened 80 years ago. And as our friend Brad Pilgrim often says, he says, we're just kind of playing at this because nobody's shooting at us, but they were doing it for real.
Absolutely. Yeah, I use that analogy a lot too, that we don't have to go. We never have to do anything with these airplanes, but they kind of did. There was a lot more at stake in the 40s when they were doing it than when we were doing it, when they were doing it for real. Yeah, I know the exact spot at the door you're talking about, and it is a pretty eerie, kind of a holy place when you're thinking about, stepping through that door into darkness and not knowing what you were going to find at the other side, where you're going to having really no idea exactly where you were going to land and the kind of conditions you would meet after making that step into the darkness.
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us today and talk a little bit about what's happened, what's coming up. But before we sign off with this segment, anything that you'd like to add or anything you're looking forward to as the days move on?
Yeah, I'd just like to add it's been great, meeting all the European crowds over here and seeing how they're just as enthusiastic about these old airplanes and the stories they can tell as our friends in the U.S. And the support on this side of the pond has been just amazing. The crowds that we're seeing, and even to a lot of people that we've been talking to. I've heard this from a lot of the crew members is. We see a lot of reenactors, people reenacting American troops coming out to see the airplanes and being a part of what we do. And we just assume that they're American, but then it turns out they don't even speak English. It's very interesting to see how many French people are into honoring what our American soldiers did for them here in northern France, way back when. So it's been really cool to see how much this airplane means to the French as well as the Americans that are over here.
Amazing. Well, Kurt, again, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your tour. And once everybody gets back and unpacked, I think we're going to have to have part 3 of this series, so you can wrap up not only what happens at the 80th anniversary tomorrow, but also going on to the Berlin airlift and then your return flight home. So fly safe and have fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to doing part 3. We're just over halfway done, so we got a long way to go still, but we're enjoying every minute of it and trying to soak it all in.
Our surprise guests this evening are a trio of ladies that, if you've been to the Wings Over Dallas Air Show or the EAA Air Venture in Oshkosh, you've heard them sing before, and we are very pleased to have them join us tonight from a castle somewhere in Europe. Well, joining us as special guests tonight, first of all, 3 ladies that I've had the wonderful pleasure to be at air shows with throughout the years. They are a great musical group, but this time when we're talking to them, they are actually participating in the anniversary celebrations that are going on this week over in the Normandy area. So Wanda Martin is the leader of Ladies for Liberty. Wanda, who's sitting on left and right of you?
Well, on my left is...
Hi, I'm Deanna Hampton, and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Cheek, and I'm from Shelbyville, Kentucky.
There you go. What's the background of Ladies for Liberty? It seems like I've seen you for many years, but what was the genesis of the group?
Well, I'll make this pretty quick, but it's very colorful, I think. I was a pilot for a while with a private aircraft, and I got to meet Chuck Yeager at an air show. And it kind of set me on the path of getting a group together to reenact with the Andrews Sisters. So I started pulling candidates away and got me a group together. I took over the company in 2010. So I started hiring other girls, and Nancy and Deanna became 2 of the candidates and came through. So I have 2 working groups now. And that he led me into saying, I asked Chuck, I said, Chuck, do you favor us starting a group? And he said, oh, yes, we need the music that we're in the war with and all that. He said it would be a great additive to all the veterans that fought in World War II. So now we've expanded actually to Vietnam, Korean War, and up to the present. So it's really grown, and I love the name because it's Ladies for Liberty, and it covers everything just about for liberty. So we're just very happy to be here I've been here probably, I think, 5 or 6 times now. So we've been here more than just the big anniversaries, but I believe that this group is led from above, if you know what I mean. And I just feel like we have a purpose here, and we're filling that purpose, and the Lord does help us through that to be where we need to be, where the action is for what we need to be doing. So that's the way I feel.
Well, good. And in seeing you perform, you're performing obviously for the audience, but there's a special sort of glow that all 3 of you get when you have a veteran who you can bring out of the crowd for one of your songs, or you can sing to. That really speaks to your mission, not only to remember the music and the harmonies of the 40s and now beyond, but also to really salute our veterans.
Oh, Steve, we love our veterans. That is absolutely the highlight of everything we do. It's all about them. Speaking of veterans, we are beyond blessed to have 190 World War II, 190 World War II veterans with us at the American Cemetery at Omaha Beach on Thursday, on the 6th. And it is just, we are beyond blessed to have that kind of one-on-one audience with them, to get to entertain them prior to all of the other festivities going on. But our veterans are the very heart and soul of everything that we do. While we love to bring the music from the different decades, the 40s, 50s, 60s, alive, it's all about the veterans and bringing joy to them through the music that they were so familiar with when they were away from home and off serving our country.
So, Deanna, how did you get involved in the group?
Well, as it is, I knew Nancy, and Nancy said, hey, I'm doing this little thing that you might be interested in, and you ought to go audition. And I went and watched. I had no idea what Ladies for Liberty was, and I went and watched one of their performances, just very obscure, before I really knew Wanda, and she didn't know me, so I went to a retirement center where the Ladies for Liberty was performing, and went over and just sat down at a table with a couple of residents, and we enjoyed the music together, but watching the people in the room come to life, literally, through the music. It was like, oh yeah, I think I need to be part of that. So I appreciate Nancy inviting me to find Wanda and audition, and we truly have the sweetest little sisterhood getting to travel like this. And it's been 10 years now.
Oh, congratulations. Now, Nancy, you know, with the uniforms that you wear, do you feel like maybe not like a reenactor or a living historian, because it's sort of beyond that, but what's the feeling, you know, when you put the uniform on and you become part of this team?
We were just talking this morning about how blessed we are to put this uniform on. It is such a privilege. Everything we do, every single gig, commemorates our veterans of World War II, appreciates our veterans of all other conflicts and wars, and appreciates our active military and our first responders, everyone. So when we put this uniform on, that's who we have in mind that we want to honor. We tell people we're not military, but we love to honor our military. So when we put this uniform on, we are thankful to God for this opportunity, and we can't wait to share what we have to hopefully spread a little joy, and with our World War II and older veterans, hopefully bring back some really good memories and maybe help to erase some of the bad ones.
Yeah. When did you arrive in France?
When did we arrive? I think we arrived. We flew out on May 31st. Okay. Lost a day. Came out on June 1st.
All right. And what have you done so far besides just?
Well, we stopped.
I should have known.
But we actually had a day or two to get used to the time change and the jet lag that we had. So
it was necessary.
So yeah, but actually St. Mary Glees is really a wonderful place to shop for the things that we're looking for, which is pins and the scarves and all the things that we wear. It's just I don't know, it's a smorgasbord for all kinds of patches. And so we had a ball going, and it was fun. We had a day off. We weren't in uniform, so we got to mix in with the huge crowd that was already there. So now I said, everything changes when we walk through in our uniforms, because it's like, you're Americans, and they know we're Americans all of a sudden, and we got this on. So we're singing, you know, here, there, and yonder, all around wherever we're needed. We have these little speakers that we kind of candidly call them purses, but they're actually little speakers that we have a microphone, and Deanna's our audio person there, where she has the iPad as well, and we can actually sing a little concert for 50 people. So we take that shows, of course, but here it works absolutely perfectly. So we're very prepared for what may be requested of us in this environment at this time. We know how important that these few days are, especially the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, are so important to what we do. So we came prepared, and we're ready to do our job, and we're very excited and honored and humbled to do it.
Yeah.
And you have you have sort of a special performance that you're doing tonight, correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
We're going to be performing for a group of veterans here in the St. Mary Glees area, because the mayor of St. Mary previously, who was actually the mayor during the actual invasion, the gentleman who is organizing this veterans event this evening is the son of the gentleman who was mayor at the time of the invasion. So it is such an honor to get to even know him and to know this piece of history. This is what is so absolutely amazing about being here right now. Walking the streets, seeing the men and women in uniform, seeing the buildings, hearing the stories of those who were children who were here at the time, whose homes were invaded by the Germans and turned into hospitals and even camps at one point, and the bullet holes that went in the walls, and the paratroopers that came down and landed in the trees outside the home. It's amazing, and we get to be here for this part of history, but it's not just the history of it, it's what that time, what those men did that were just called to duty to save the world from tyranny. And the freedoms that we hold dear, we would be living in a completely different world if those brave men hadn't stood up and joined the forces and gone to the recruiting offices and stood in lines around the blocks just to sign up to do what they were called to do and answer that call of duty.
And let me add one more thing. The event tonight is the American Veterans Association, and Maurice Renaud is his name, and he started that in honor of his father, who was the current mayor at the time of the war. So the American Veterans Association, we give him a plug. He's worked very hard for this organization, and he honors all of the American veterans. And there's usually like 1,100 people at this. I'm sorry, not tonight. Tonight is the pre of the banquet, but we're doing the cocktail party. But at the actual banquet that we're going to sing for, I believe it's on the Thursday or anyway, it's the next couple of days. But anyway, he's 1,100 people there, all the 82nd Airborne, all the 101st that can come. And he just honors every active duty that's here, and they're reenacting as well. And then we have the Liberty Jump Team. We have all the reenactors along with us, plus all of the 82nd that they've sent in the 101st. So with this American Veterans Association, that's what he uses to have these banquets and this cocktail party that we're entering to tonight. So I just want to make sure I gave him a plug. So
there you go. And what are some of the other activities that you'll be appearing at?
We are going to have the privilege of singing at many small ceremonies in the area. The villages around here all celebrate that day and the individual incidents that happened at those villages. So we'll be performing national anthems and a beautiful song called Requiem for a Soldier from Band of Brothers, which is all about Easy Company in World War II. And we also have a huge privilege of being able to sing at the American National Cemetery in Normandy. And we will be performing for the 190 veterans that Deanna was talking about. And we just can't wait to see them and see their faces and sing for them and hopefully bring them a little joy and wonderful memories from that time period. So we are so looking forward to all of those things. Each ceremony is special, even if it's in a small village. And each veteran that we're going to get to see is also special. And we are just so privileged to be able to do that. Just today, while we were rehearsing in this castle that was built in 1769, we're singing the song Requiem for a Soldier, talking about how we can live together when all the world is free. And as we were singing that, 2 C-47s flew over the castle very low overhead while we were finishing the song. We were just wide-eyed, our hearts were full. It's just, every moment is very emotional, very profound, very deep. And we just have so much gratitude in our hearts for all that was done for us.
I'm sorry. Interestingly enough, the wife and husband team that run this whole castle here, and I can't pronounce the name, and I apologize for that. I'm not very good at French. But what was great is he came and showed us a film yesterday of this was a headquarters during the war, communications headquarters, and it also had trucks of German prisoners of war that came through here that was screened and frisked, I guess you'd say, and they were And then they had shows. They had like USO shows that were out on this lawn. And we did not realize when I rented this place, I had no idea the connection that it had for 1944 war. So we feel like we're absolutely in the right place at the right times. So it's
amazing.
Great.
There's history all around us. I mean, you can't escape it. And it is just so surreal. And we're honored, privileged, and so very thankful to be here.
All right. Well, ladies, we're going to have you sing a little snippet of a song in just a moment, but we want to point out that there's your producer and communications person, Kelly, is also there with you, helping.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, we want to say hi to her as well.
Come on, Kelly.
Come on, Kelly. Come over here and say hi.
You got to get between us here.
Let's go.
Hi, Kelly.
We're meeting, you know.
Well,
She's awesome.
enjoy. Yeah, she is. Enjoy your time at the 80th anniversary celebrations. I know you'll be phenomenal, but if you would, could you just sing us out?
Sure.
We're going to sing the song that Nancy was talking about that is from the Band of Brothers. And it is so surreal, and it just speaks to what was going on during this time, and how the soldiers, they truly were one band of brothers.
I wish you lived to see all you gave to me, your shining dream of hope and love, life and liberty. We are all one great band of brothers, and one day you'll see we can live together. When all the world is free.
Ladies, thank you so very much for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule to share some stories and thoughts. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your time there at the 80th anniversary celebrations of the D-Day invasion. And I know you will represent us well.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Steve.
Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank the
Appreciate it.
commemorative Air Force.
Yes, yes. We love the CAF.
Of course, That's All Brother is one of the most iconic aircraft of the D-Day invasion. It led 800 other C-47s in the first wave of paratroopers, and on June 6, 1944. Of course, the Pathfinders went in first. We always like to point that out as well, but That's All Brother was the tip of the spear, as they say. And the Central Texas wing of the Commemorative Air Force has been entrusted with the care and upkeep of That's All Brother. Joining us now is Andy Magg. Joining us now from a very familiar position, and that would be the cockpit of That's All Brother. It's Andy Magg. Perfect time for you to have the flyby on your end.
There you go. That was a Mustang going by, so never a bad day when a Mustang's taking off.
That's true, especially when you're sitting in the cockpit of That's All Brother. What a great place.
There you go. Absolutely. We're here in Cherbourg, France today, and I'll close this window here. Hopefully, cut down the noise a little bit. And it's a beautiful sunny day. So that's a rarity in Normandy. So.
Really? Okay. Well, we talked to Kurt Lewis just a little while ago, and it was a nice sunny day where he was as well, and he had some great pictures that we shared from some of the flights around, well, first of all, across the Atlantic and then throughout England. Now, you're just joining up with the tour now. You've been there just a couple of days, and you're starting in France.
That's right. Yeah, just a couple days. So just arrived by airline and flew yesterday, flew today. Both are kind of long days. So, and then we're getting ready for tomorrow, where we'll likely be doing 2 of the ceremony flybys. So there's going to be one in the morning and one in the afternoon.
All right. Well, one of the things that we should probably address is originally 2 CAF aircraft were going to make the trip across with the D-Day squadron, but the R4D with the DFW wing ran into a little maintenance issue.
They had a pretty big maintenance issue, and they really just kind of ran out of time, and ultimately just made the call on the side of safety, which is never a bad call. To not they switched to a new engine, and they had a couple other things they had to do that just drug the timeline on, and I think in the balance of it, they just decided, we're going to go to Europe. We're just not going to go to Europe right now, and that's a totally reasonable decision, and I applaud them for that.
Yes. What was it that first alerted them to something going wrong or not being quite right?
I can't remember exactly. I wasn't there. They started having some troubles. I think they were hearing, it was a noise they were hearing when they were at takeoff power while they were there, and they checked the magnetos and they did all that, and they kept troubleshooting things for several days before they just decided to kind of pull the trigger and swap the engine out. And then they found a few more things in that process as well. So, but they're all good and safe, and that's the important part. And the plane will be making its way back to Texas, and they've got 2 brand new engines, and they're going to be doing lots of good stuff with the plane.
And as you mentioned, especially with a long overwater trip, erring on the side of caution and safety is always the best bet. I'm sure they're disappointed, but the mission that they had take. Go ahead.
Oh, they worked so hard to get ready for the trip. I mean, just a phenomenal group with phenomenal leadership, and they really came together and brought a plane that really hadn't flown much in the last little while, and got it ready to go to France. And that's no small effort, just on the organizational and fundraising side, training pilots, and they just really did a stand-up job getting it all done.
Yeah. And visit the DFW Wings page, their webpage or their Facebook page. And if you'd like to donate to help with the maintenance cause, please do so. I know they would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Exactly. Well, these engines are not inexpensive.
True. So talk a little bit about what you will be doing today before the big day tomorrow.
Yeah, most of the flights we're doing here are paratroop drop operations. So there's a number of what you would call living history parachute groups that are mostly U.S. based, but some in Europe as well. And they have numerous people who jump with World War II style round canopies, and they eat this up. So this is their commemoration. And, we kind of get to be bus drivers for them. And but it's fun flying. We get to do formation flying, paratroop drop flying, and lots of good stuff. And the scenery and being able to do it in this area is pretty hard to match.
Yeah. How is it different being in the environment in France than it is in the U.S.? I mean, obviously people come out to see the airplanes. Is it the same sort of, I guess, enthusiasm for aircraft, or is there somewhat of a difference between the two?
Oh. Absolutely. I mean, you can. If I look over there at the fence, there's, a dozen people with their camera. So the one thing that's different here is the airport is a secured airport, and so it isn't all the people being able to mill around the airplanes, which is, where we're at right now. Especially right now, the security has become much more significant. So no badge, you don't get on the airport right now. And that makes sense for the time we're at, and the level of security with the VIP people in the general area. And but there's numerous people camped out here, as well as you walk through the fence, and there's no shortage of people who are interested in talking to you and taking pictures and all that.
You mentioned formation flights.
Say again?
You mentioned formation flying. How much formation flying has the group been doing, and you've been doing since you arrived?
Yeah, almost every flight is some type of formation flight. that we do. So very rarely are we going out as a single ship aircraft. So that'll be whether it be we've done a photo flight with the Air Force. We did a practice flight with the other U.S. airplanes for in practice for tomorrow's event. Every flight we've done so far that I've been here for has been a formation flight. Unlike home, we can't do ride flight. We can't do ride for hire flights in while we're outside of the U.S. So, every flight is kind of, some other purpose. So, the only exception to that we'll probably end up doing. We're hoping to do a VIP flight for a World War II veteran who's a C-47 pilot later this week.
Awesome. And speaking of veterans, there have been a number of veteran airlifts that are bringing World War II veterans back for the celebration tomorrow. I think there's just under 200 that will be there. And if you think about their ages, mid 90s through, I think I saw the oldest one was 107.
Wow.
And so this is really this 80th anniversary is, and I've seen it in different spots, this is probably the final time that World War II veterans will either be with us or able to travel to participate in this anniversary. And I would think that makes it even more special to be a part of it for you.
It does, and I hope it's not that case. I mean, I hope we can, do this again 5 years from now, and again honor the veterans who fought so hardly for our freedoms. And if they're not, I hope you're still doing this again in their memory and in their honor, and to relearn the lessons that we kind of need to relearn as a society.
Definitely. And with that, I think from what I've seen and what I've read and heard, the people, especially in France, will not forget D-Day, and will not forget the sacrifices of the Allied troops that came ashore to help liberate France from Nazi Germany at the time.
No, you can everywhere you go in this area, you can tell that June 6th is a very, very special day for them, and it completely makes sense. This was their home. This is their homeland. It was being occupied by a foreign power, and that was the day that began their liberation.
You mentioned the flights tomorrow. You said there are 2 flights for the actual ceremony.
There's 2 separate ceremonies that we'll be doing, and then we'll be doing the flyby at the end of each of those.
Okay. And beyond that, after tomorrow, after June 6th commemoration, what happens next before you make the next trip, which is off to commemorate the Berlin airlift?
Yeah, we'll be doing many more paratroop drop flights, and including we will be actually flying with the Army Rangers, so active duty. Normally we're flying with civilians, but we did a whole bunch of work to get certified to fly Army Rangers, and so we've practiced with them already, and we'll be doing in preparation for this event as well.
Awesome. What kind of special preparations did you need?
They have, the military has very high standards. And so they wanted to take a very close look at the airplane, all of its maintenance records, and then do a very close inspection of the airplane as well. So I think they brought something like 5 or 6 folks from the FAA to the hangar and took a look at the airplane. It did outstandingly well as part of their review. And we needed to review our operational procedures and pieces like that to make sure everything was being done in a way that works for them.
Very good. Speaking of mechanicals so far, fingers crossed, That's All Brother has performed pretty well. Kurt mentioned there's probably an oil change in the future of the airplane, but no other squawks or mechanical issues?
Yeah, the oil change is just something we have to do on the schedule, and that's very routine. And it's the plane's knock on wood. The plane's been doing great. We fixed one issue, and we've fixed it before. So we actually fixed it 5 years ago. So we replaced one of the brake packs, and that's good. But it was a problem we discovered before takeoff on the taxi out, and they decided to delay that flight, and got it fixed the same day, and were able to complete their mission that day. And that was back in England. So
Okay.
kudos. And so we one of the things we do, and one of the important parts about our crew is we have 2 crew chiefs with us all the time, and at all times on our trip we have a IA mechanic with us. So everything we do can be done, and signed off, and we don't, we're not at the mercy, and we carry a lot of spare parts as well. So we're not at the mercy of shipping delays and things like that.
Which is just an interesting question. So you're doing maintenance in England or France, different aviation authorities, but you're still under FAA rules, or do you have to conform to the country?
No, if it's an N registered airplane, we can continue to do the maintenance on it.
Excellent. Since you've seen the airplane after it left Texas, any wear marks on her that show that she's been across the Atlantic and throwing paratroopers out the back end?
Nope, still feels like the same good, wonderful airplane. So, there's a saying, the airplane doesn't know that it's over the water.
Sure.
And so the plane performed magnificently on the trip, and we're very fortunate to have a great maintenance team at the Central Texas Wing. And the people who have joined us along the way. And this time we've got Mark Davis from the Highland Lake Squadron with us right now as well. And they're keeping the plane running well, and we're really happy campers.
Good. Aside from the flights tomorrow, is there anything else that you're looking forward to while you were there? You're just there for a relatively brief period of time, but anything on your to-do list?
Yeah, we've got that. No, we wrap up here probably on Sunday, and then next we head to an event that was arranged by in cooperation with Francois from Airbase Arizona and the CAF French Wing, just outside of Paris. There's going to be an event there, which will be really interesting to see. And then, unfortunately, I'll be missing it, but the plane going on to Wiesbaden, Germany, to the Berlin Airlift 75th commemoration.
Well, it should be pointed out that 5 years ago, you were one of the crews that made the trip over. So you skipped that part of the long, cold trip and just took the airliner over. It's much easier, right?
It was. It wasn't as easy as I wanted it to be. It still took an extra day with a flight cancellation, but it was still quite a bit quicker than coming over with the plane, which took about a week to get across. Yeah. But it's really an really interesting trip to do, Greenland of all places is it is absolutely beautiful on a sunny day, and it's an experience I'm glad to have. I'd definitely do it again. Just work commitments and other things kept me from spending that much time on the trip this time.
Well, good. Well, you mentioned the Central Texas Wing, and that's where That's All Brother lives when it's not out on the road. But you also mentioned early on about the fundraising to help make all of this happen. And you're obviously still looking for support and donations to help pay for this trip and to keep the airplane flying even once it returns home.
Absolutely. That's right. You can go to the That's All Brother website, and you can donate there to support us. And yeah, we'll put your donation to good use. So, we're lucky to have such a wonderful airplane with such a rich history, and we get to do things like this, but, we get to go all over the country and share its story with as many people as we possibly can.
Good. Once the airplane returns back to Texas, are you going anywhere else, other air shows throughout the summer?
We have Oshkosh right now penciled in. There should be a number of C-47s there this time. It's sort of like a victory lap of the Europe trip. So we have that, and then a number of things planned in the fall. We'll be doing some touring. We've got some events planned out, sort of more towards the west and northwest of Texas.
All right, sounds good. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, just appreciate your time and having a chance to chat with the rest of the folks at the CAF.
All right. Andy Magg, sitting in his office today, and what a great place to be. That is the cockpit of That's All Brother. Andy, thank you for taking the time out to join us, and enjoy the rest of your time.
My pleasure. You have a great day.
All right, thanks. Thank you for joining us tonight. You'll be able to see tomorrow's 80th anniversary celebrations live on many streaming platforms. Just do a quick web search and you will see a number of different organizations that are covering everything live. Now, if you'd like to know what the tour has been like up to this point with That's All Brother and the D-Day Squadron, all you have to do is go to the Commemorative Air Force website, commemorativeairforce.org, and you'll see the tour updates. It takes you all the way back to before they left to go across the North Atlantic. Now, we know that we'd love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts on tonight's show or on any topics you'd like us to cover in the future, just drop us an email at media@cafhq.org. And if you liked what you saw tonight, please share it on your social media channels. We would definitely appreciate it. And if you subscribe on YouTube, click that bell icon and you'll get notifications when new episodes of Warbird Tube are posted. Until next time, I'm Steve Bose, wishing you blue skies and tailwinds. Have a great night.